Hey folks, here we are. We're going to work on exercise 1419, which is the rack slide. And with this one, because it's two mating parts that go together, and they have similar features on both parts, we're going to create it as one part and then split it into two separate parts. Okay, so we're going to start out with one, and we're going to split it into two separate. It's called top-down design. It's different than what we've been. Most of what we do is bottom up, which we start with individual parts and then work towards the assembly. With this one, we'll start with not the assembly, but a parent part, if you will, create the common features and then split it and then work on the individual parts to create our assembly. So it's a little bit different, but with this one and some other parts, it works really well because it saves you some steps because the things are identical on both sides. So we're starting with a English inch template file, and I'm going to do a 2D sketch on my XY plane. YZ XY plane, and I'm going to draw the base of this thing. So just working vertical lines here. Come on, there we go. Just making the U-shaped channel. All right, I need a perpendicular constraint there on that one. Okay, we're going to apply some dimensions to this thing. And I'm just going to go around and put my dimensions in, and then you do the same, but you'll edit them to get, the size of the U. And with this one, we can make it equal to that one. And how is that? Okay, so it dimensions the inside height. All right, so I'm going to apply these dimensions here. I made a mistake there when I dimensioned both these as being equal because our drawing in the book shows the distance between those two, and we are going to use the upper limit, 1.760. All right, so there's got my dimensions, and now I want to constrain the top of this to the origin. So I'm going to use a coincident constraint, midpoint of that line to the origin. And we're fully constrained. And so now I want to extrude it symmetrically for the length of 12. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of working, excuse me, the left view in the textbook is going to be the left plane of this cube. And so I'm going to draw the circle that moves out to the back, and it's flush with this inside surface right here. So we'll start a sketch on that surface. And I'm going to draw me a big circle up here. And now then we want to align it centered on the origin. So we do a vertical constraint. And then we've got a height dimension that you need, and we're going to use the upper limit, and that goes to the bottom of the object. So my upper limit, 4.833. Okay, and then we're going to extrude it away from us, the depth of the extrusion. And it's not 12 inches. All right, and so there's our big cylinder. Now we want to put the 45-degree ribs that go down the sides, and so we'll come over and do it on this plane. And I'm going to, let's project geometry of that circle. I'm going to anchor a line there, and I'm going to go to the quadrant point, and then go through to the other quadrant point, and then from there down onto the line. And these are at an angle of 45 degrees. That should go through there. Oh, it's not constrained to the midpoint, so we want to put a constraint there that makes it fully constrained. And then we're going to extrude it back into this direction, 0.938. All right, that looks good right there. And next we're going to do this circular cutout. And so we'll do our sketch on this plane, project this geometry. Oh, I don't want cut edges. I want project geometry. There we go. And we're going to do a big circle that's concentric. And it has a radius. All right, and that's fully constrained. And now we want to cut forward to this surface plane down here, or the back of the circle, either one. So we'll go extrude. And you got to be sure and pick that little part down at the bottom. We're going to do a cut to that surface. All right, so that's how it should look. If you're missing this little notch down here at the bottom, it's because you missed that little piece. You missed that little piece, you know, that's all there is to it. Okay, so now we've got little cylinders on the right and left side of this thing. And so we want to put a work plane through the midpoint of the cylinder here. And the easiest way is, I mean, of course, yeah, you could do the math. But let's just go with a work axis through the cylinder. And you see that it picks up that little yellow line. There we go. Okay, now I want to create a work plane that goes through that line. So I'm going to go plane. Where's it at? Angle to plane around an edge. That'll work. And so I'm going to click that line and click this plane until it is 0 degrees. And that makes it horizontal to this. All right, so we're going to, and this is the plane that we'll use later to cut this thing in two, because that's going to be at the midpoint of the circle. So we're going to do a sketch on this plane. And it doesn't matter what orientation you want. So I'm going to go with top. And let me slice. And we've got a circle coming in there. And I'm just going to drop me a circle in. And then if you look in your book, you've got 2 dimensions. You got to be careful of the one that it comes from there to the circle, and then it goes from the circle to the center point. All right. Those two will do it. So you get those dimensions fixed, and then we'll move forward. Okay, got my dimension. Whoa, got my dimension. Come on, there we go. Got my dimensions in. Now we're going to extrude this symmetrically up and down. It's, if you look in the book, it's the same distance. So it's 1.375 times 2, since we're going up and down. And that did pick the whole thing, didn't it? Yeah. Okay. So we've got that. And the book shows a cut coming through the cylinder here. You could certainly put it in now. However, having built this thing several times, it will cause you problems later when we go to fillet this part. So I'm going to wait about putting that cut in until I'm working in the individual part file and I've already filleted this thing. But there is a cut on the bottom that we can do. And so I'm going to hide this for right now. And that. Let's do a sketch on this surface here. Yeah, it's the same size as this circle, so I'm gonna concentric and make them the same size. Let me slice my graphics because we need to look at something here because we don't want to cut this part out. Let me get a straight on view. We do not want to cut this part out. So we've got to trim out that circle. This is the piece right here that we're cutting out. And before, I had a little issue with this, so let's see how this works. So it won't trim because there's no connecting projected geometry right there. So we are going to put in a line. And I'm going to bring it over until it intersects right there. Now I should be able to trim out that little piece. Okay, now we're still fully constrained. And so I'm going to cut that. And it's that part that we want. And so we'll go with a cut through all, change my direction, and there's what we've got. Okay. All right, so now let's take these two features and mirror them to the opposite side. So let's go mirror, change that, and take that. The mirror plane will be that. All right, so there's got those two features over on the right side. All right, so now let's put in a large hole here in the through the main body here. And it's a be a through all. And we want to use the upper limits, 2.75. And it's concentric there. And then it's got chamfers on both sides that we can put in now. And they are 1/8 inch by 45. Okay. All right. And so that's pretty much, I mean, that's got all the common features between both parts, top and bottom. So let's save this. And you can see I've already worked through several of them. So I'm going to start my files with VID for video. And of course, you're going to save it as 14-19 parent, would be fine. But I'm just going to call them vids because this is my video. So I want to save that. All right, now we're going to split this thing and then rename the parts. Sorry, let me back up here. I want to split this thing, and click that first, and then go split solid. All right, and you see that gave me solid 2 and solid 3. So solid 2 is the top. So I want to rename that. I had to rename my my top and my bottom here when I split. Now I'm going to go make components and bring those two in. I got my assembly name where I'm storing it. Change my template. And then go next. Change my templates again. And then go OK. All right, and now it opened my assembly file. And if you look where your stuff is stored, oh, because I haven't saved the part files yet, that's fine. So I want to do the initial save on my assembly. And it asked me, do I want to save the two part files here and the assembly? So I'm going to say yes to all and then OK. All right, now if you notice, both components are grounded when they brought in, and that's not a good way to deal with things. So we're going to unground the top. So I right click on it and uncheck grounded. So that means my top piece, I can move it out here. Okay, and let me pause here just a moment.